So I don't know if he watches my damn videos or not, but I do them anyway. And I'm, as usual, going to put my bullshit knowledge out to see, so people can judge whatever they want to judge and say what they want to say. And this is my thing today. I'm kind of giving an update on how things are going with societies. It's kind of a way of keeping a diary. So even if nobody watches it, people can see where people were at back years ago. If this stuff survives, or if they don't shut the internet down, which I'm pretty sure eventually they'll probably imagine when they shut the internet down, people are really going to go to panic. Like you think about how far we are from collapse. Think about how fucked up things were with the toilet paper and all that. Imagine if all of a sudden the texting and the internet and all that shut down. Just boom. And nobody knows shit. Because that's the only way a lot of us communicate. So, you can't get anybody to do a phone call, anymore. Most people don't like doing nothing but texting or social media. So how you ain't gonna know anything. If you had no access to any news, if your cable was out. So imagine if I got a feeling eventually they're going to pull the internet, like they're going to do something where the internet don't work and be like, oh, they'll come up with some fucking reason, I'm sure. I don't care what anybody says. They're taking full advantage of this shit. They're taking complete advantage of this entire thing. Whether you look, and everybody's the sayings, I've always listened to all the things people say. All the stuff people say is engineered with neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Look it up. It's NLP stuff because every day somebody says something. There's something that everybody says different. The other day I was talking about how it was the thing they were saying was it's just getting started. It's just getting started. And now that it's started just a little bit enough, even though we don't have anywhere near the over 12,000 deaths that we have with H1N1. And I said there and told somebody we don't have 1,000 deaths, or even 1,000 yet. And we, I think it was at the time it was over 100 something at the time I had this discussion. The first time I talked, it was 57. So I said that and they're like, oh yeah, we do. There's 12, 13, 14,000 in New York. No, there is not 14,000 people that died in New York. Okay. Seriously, this is not. Look it up today. If you look up the date that this video was made, there is not currently all these thousands of people dead in New York over it. There's some more people dead, but it's not anywhere near those totals. Worldwide's different, but I'm saying it's not. So they don't even care to look at the numbers. They just accept it. And when you go out, you can see the people who are gullible, like everybody's out here wearing these masks, and then there's about 50 articles that say the masks are not going to help. And the way people are using their gloves, the gloves aren't going to help because the way they're touching shit and using the gloves, they're contaminating the gloves. Like if you see how people are with these gloves, they're not doing anything. Ask somebody who uses gloves all the time. This shit they're doing isn't helping. It's just shit sticking to the gloves. It's like they're doing things that it's just like they're told to do. They're not really thinking about. Somebody told them put the gloves on. Oh, put the gloves on. Do this. It's like then you see what they're doing. Just look at what they're doing. You understand what I'm saying? Look at how people are. You got a dirty ass mask on. It's like I've had to wear a mask at work for contamination, insulation, shit like that, and I can't stand it. And it seems to me like it makes it worse. It makes my breathing worse. So that said, I see a lot of people who are. The biggest thing I see today is very emotional people who think that their emotions are being played, and then they think that the things they're saying based on the emotion that's been played, they think they are the rational ones. They think they're the thinking person because their emotions are triggering what to say. And the thing today everybody says is two things. One is you are the problem. If you do this, you are the problem. That's everybody's new saying. If you do this, you are the problem. That is a neuro-linguistic programming technique to shift responsibility. Like, there's so many things that they do with NLP that Obama was a big student of NLP. And when you use NLP against people, what you're doing is you're negating, you're stopping any argument at that point. You're catering to the emotions while at the same time appearing to be catering to the intellect. In other words, what you do is you do things that trigger emotional responses in people. And they don't realize they're emotionally responding to the stimulus, but they feel like that that you are. Like if I come to you with a logical thing, like numbers, facts, something like that, or alternate facts that you haven't studied or looked at, you immediately have an emotional response. There's no way you're going to listen to me because of what you've been told, because that triggers your emotions. So you're going to like completely blank out on listening to anything other than what you've been told by who you choose to believe. And so the people you choose to believe have completely blocked your ability to take in new information. But you immediately have a like if somebody comes to me with some information, says, oh, that's interesting, let me see what your information is. So somebody says, oh, I said, well, 200 people died. No, actually 5,000 people died. Oh, where do you have this information? And I look and say, oh, that's not true. That's where somebody like in Ohio or something said this or that, and we discovered that was not true. I don't say to them, oh, there's no way that's not true. I actually look at it and say, maybe I'm wrong. But they immediately tell me I'm wrong if it's not what they feel. Like if they don't feel, like I told this lady today, I said, it's not this many people. But immediately she's like, hey, this is a denier. This guy's denying this virus exists. Fuck them. This is what I know in my heart, that a lot of people, this happened. I know it happened, and I'm not going to listen to alternate facts. Even though it's a fact, and the Center for Disease Control and all this, it's so simple. Just look that fact up. And it is an undisputed fact, numbers wise. And even it's just that the media knows that you'll hear an alternate number somewhere, or you're not really paying attention, because people aren't good at paying attention. The sad part is those of us who pay a lot of attention and who concentrate and pay attention to information, we are ostracized as conspiracy theorists or liars. And I'm not even coming up with conspiracy. Like I'm saying, one, yes, the virus exists, but I believe that because we've had other viruses similar to this that have yielded way more deaths at this time, that I believe that they are exploiting it in some cases. Because if you speak to people, nobody knows anybody that has it. And I hear this regularly. Like they'll always say it'll be like distant cousin something. It's at this point. And maybe I could get it or anybody could get it. And I hope God my child doesn't get it, or my mother or somebody older. But yeah, anybody we know could get it. But right now, I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's numbers that are low in each state, to the point that you're more than likely, when there's millions of people, you're more than likely not to know someone, or you have maybe you're at least average person's 10 degrees of separation of someone who has it. So, and even then they may have like a regular flu or something. You don't know about what's going on. It's almost possible to know exactly what they've got. And so, you're not going to get the details. So, that's the problem I have is I'm always been a logical, factual person about a lot of stuff. And I'm emotional when I'm angry. My emotion comes in when I'm trying to get facts across, and I've got my numbers and I've got my so-called ducks in a row. And when I present this, people are coming back with this emotion shit, trying to act like it's intellect, and it's not. You're not intellectually thinking. You're coming at me with emotion. And you're coming at me with what you're determined that this is what the situation is, because it's what you felt, or you don't want to admit. Maybe you didn't look at the numbers. It's, well, it don't matter. I look at the numbers. It's still bad. You're saying it's not bad by saying this, and da da da. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, but I'm trying to get people to look at it and see how the economic crash and all the other things are being taken advantage of. And I'm so sick of people talking about, what about the Trumps? Well, I thought Trump wasn't for socialism, and he wants to give $1,000 checks. Well, this is the thing. Socialism is why we're shut down right now. Okay, so we're shut down, and this whole virus is based on, and this whole thing is being used as a thing to promote socialism, martial law, shutting the country down. So you pretty much, once you're socialist, you got no choice. Once you're in a socialist position, you don't have any choice but to accept socialist help at that point, because we're a socialist country right now. We're shut down. So, it's like if you put a gun to my head, okay, and I, if I'm saying I'm a peaceful person and I don't want to fight, and I'm peaceful, and I don't want to kill anybody, like I've shot people before, and I say, well, I don't want to shoot anybody again. But then you put me in a position, I say, oh, I thought you didn't want to shoot anybody again. Well, you know what? You put me in a position where I had to pull the trigger. So when you put people in that position, you don't go in their face. Oh, I thought you didn't want to shoot anybody again. Well, I didn't. I didn't want to have to accept something that. Okay, put it this way: socialism just took from me. You just shut capitalism down. You just used socialism. You're using socialism, and you're forcing the president to accept socialism. And in this shutdown and these things you're doing and this stuff that you're forcing, which I don't like. This feels like socialism when you look at what's going on with the country. This is what socialism feels like with the fucking food shortages and the other shit and the control and this shit. That's what it feels like. So therefore, once you force me into that position of socialism, I have no other choice being that socialism and telling me like this, for example, if my job doesn't operate because of what you're doing to my job, because of what you are starting, then I've got to do what I've got to do to survive. And if I have to take a check to get me out of basically you're taking my livelihood. When you sit here and you shut down the government shuts down people's ability to make a living, okay, then the government is taking from you. The government took from you. You're willing to work and you're doing your thing. The government shut down your ability to make a living. So why wouldn't you take something back that they've taken from you? So therefore, no, it's not socialism. That's a case of give and take. This government is not supposed to be able to shut down private business to tell you what you can and can't do. Now, this thing of you're the problem, that's a crock of shit too, because what that whole you're the problem thing is to try to convince people to shut the country down for 2 weeks. Now, instead of emotion telling you that if we shut the country down for 14 days, this will all go away. Do you honestly think that it's going to go away if you shut? Let's say that nobody goes to work and nobody leaves the house for 14 fucking days. Do you honest to God think that if nobody leaves the house for 14 fucking days, that this thing is going to go away? Or even if it did go away, do you think they're going to tell you that it went away? Or they're not going to enjoy more control? Because and it's my other favorite thing is they must know something we don't know. That's what scares me. Well, if they know something we don't know, then why are people like Bill de Blasio going to the fucking gym? I guarantee you these people are doing all kind of fucking things right now, having fun. I guarantee you these people, they know something we don't know. They know that there's not as big of a threat. And I believe that they said Tom Hanks had this shit. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's certain things I believe are bullshit. I think because Tom Hanks is this homie, trusted actor, kind of like they used to do with Jimmy. Remember, if you guys remember who Jimmy Stewart is, he was like the homie, everyman, fucking guy nobody's supposed to hate. And I think Tom Hanks is a fucking dirtbag from things I've heard and seen about that, other things I've followed in man's career. I think there's shit about him that we don't know that if it came out, you'd figure out that maybe he's not what he appears to be. But that said, I think that they got Tom Hanks to do this shit because of what type of person. So they said, well, hey, because they're all sticking together, like the Hollywood elites and all these people who they will be allowed to come and go as they please and do what they want and have their little parties and have their shit, and the rest of us will be shut down, and that's what they want. And if they know something we don't, yeah, they must, because they're living their life like they want to. I guarantee you, if you could sneak and see what all these people are doing right now, they're all doing what they want. They're not fucking changing their life. All these elites, all these politicians, all these people in Hollywood, they're doing what the fuck they're putting up something on Twitter looking like they're staying at home eating ice cream. Don't believe it. They're having fun. They ain't shutting their lifestyle down. They don't shut their lifestyle down for global warming. They said talk about global warming. They're flying planes everywhere and saying that shit hurts people. They don't ever stop doing what they want to do, ever. And they don't ever stop having armed bodyguards or have ever, even though they say nobody should have guns and all these things they say. I hate using the word hypocrisy because everybody just hears it. It's like it's a word. It doesn't mean anything at this point because so many people are hypocrites. But hypocrisy means nothing. It's just that's what they do. They go out there. It's not hypocrisy. It's they do what they want and tell you to do something else because they are so arrogant. They think they're above you And when you figure that out, that they're a ruling class, everybody has no problem thinking that. You know, you liberal people think that that's just Republicans. Only Republicans have money. That's these elite Republicans. It's bullshit. It's about like it's Hollywood. It's like I used to say, nobody gives a fuck if Lil Wayne's got a gold helicopter, but they'll bitch you about somebody else having one. Like if it's an entertainer or a football player or a NBA guy, they don't care if they're rich, but they worry about some other CEO at a company that's actually producing something. They worry about somebody on Wall Street making money, but they don't care about this football player making money. When somebody on Wall Street they got to take risks and figure things out. It's not like they're just not doing anything. It's not like they're not talented. People just assume that these people on Wall Street or who invest their money, they're just a piece of shit because they fool with money. It's like a stigma. I know all about a stigma. It's like this person's in the adult industry, so because they work in the adult industry, they must be this A, B, or C. They must be this, and you'll never get past that what they think you are. Even though you're just doing what you do, you're a normal person. You know that you're always going to be that. So those of you who have been in the industry and you listen to this Wall Street people bullshit, it's the same thing. They make assumptions about people who make money a certain way. Why is it the way they make their money dirtier than the way somebody else makes their money? Why is it so, dishonest to make money one way but not the other? Yeah, there are some crooks and bad people. There's crooks and bad people in every profession. So what's the difference? Well, you don't know everybody's individual story. So that's like the same people who want to write off anybody in the adult industry as being sexually abused, whores, pimps, exploiters of women and shit like that. They all say we're all this and we. So I mean, you guys, if anybody should understand that stigmatizing people who have been in the business should, because we're not supposed to have normal lives or be looked at with any kind of reverence or respect. So that going on to the next thing. This is why I try to tell my mother, for example, like I've told my mother for years, I said, they're going to shut your church down. And they're going to one day shut your church down. And my mother says, oh, we'll always worship. We'll always gather together. And the Bible says we're so many people, whatever, is gathered together in my name, da-da-da. And, being Church of Christ, that when I used to argue with my mother, I didn't want to go to church. It's like the Bible says you have to have fellowship. The fellowship is important. You have to be around other Christians. The fellowship is the most important thing. And that's why you got to go to church. Even not just on Sunday, but any time that they want you to assemble, that the elders of the church feel like you should be together in fellowship, then it's the right thing to do is always go. Every time that you need to be fellowshipping, that the elders feel you should, whether it's whatever day of the week. But, of course, the Sunday's commanded by God. And if you don't fellowship on Sundays, and when I tell my mother, like, now they're like not going to church because they're told their church is shut down. And so I said, well, Mom, they're doing online church, streaming church. Okay, so my point is if you're doing online church, streaming church, it's still not fellowshipping. I mean, if I said the same thing to my mother back when I was living at home and I was a teenager, and I said, Mom, why can't I just stay home and read the Bible? Oh, you got to have fellowship. It's a sin. You got to have fellowship, And if you've ever been involved with Church of Christ or Catholic Church or something like that, where they're just very, very strict on what they believe, it's like you have to do exactly like the way Church of Christ is. If you're not, you don't do exactly everything but to the letter, then you're going straight to hell. And that's the way. And then when I try to tell my mother, I said, well, Mom, they shut your church down. And you guys always said, no matter what, you'll always worship and you'll always be there. And if I could see me, if there was, let's say that I said, hey, Mom, I was a teenager. Everybody's got mono at church. All the kids are sick. If all the kids were sick, I said, well, why should I go to church? Because all the teenage kids are sick in the teenage class. And she would say, you still have to go to church. You still have to go. You're not sick, so you have to go. Even if you're the only person in class, you should go. So why? Well, you're supposed to go there for God, not for other people. And they'd say that, like, I remember when I was in church, everybody quit going. Like they either started getting pairing off, they were dating, they were going to other churches, or all the kids quit going. And like I would go there and it's like one or two people my age left, And there was like nobody my age left at my church back when I was going to church when I was a kid. Like there was nobody to talk to, and I was kind of like by myself in my own age group, and they were like younger kids, and then like I was going there, and I was like, Mom, I just don't want to go. There's nobody to talk to. There's nobody there. He's like, well, you have to fellowship, and it's like if I said, well, everybody's sick, well, you'd have to go. So, but now it's like, well, they have this virus, and a lot of people in church are old, and we, they could die. Well, what if I said anything? It's always like you have to have faith. God will. That's if you're going to get sick, that's God. That's up to God whether you get sick. My faith is so strong. I don't believe I'm going to get sick at church. Now, you guys know what I'm talking about. People that are like this. It's not just. I'm not trying to bash my mom. I love my mom. I'm just trying to tell you about how everybody talks like that, like that's involved with church. It's like you got to go to church, and if you don't go, if you don't, you need to have faith, and that's not. We're not to be of the world. That's the world. That's the world's idea. That the world says that we need to hide from this virus, but God says we need to fellowship, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what they would do if it was something anything else that they're not scared of. But they're scared of it, so all the people are staying home and they're canceling church. And I sat there and said, Mom, you said they would never cancel your church, and the government would never shut your church down. And then I say that, and she says, well, these are the last days. That proves to you these are the last days of the Bible. The Bible says the church is at war with. I was like, Mom, it's not that it's the last days. They're shutting your church down. You said you guys would never have this happen in your lifetime. It would never happen. And I'm trying to point out to you that it has happened, and you guys are openly allowing it. It's not like you're fighting. And you guys used to tell us stories about how the Roman Empire would kill all the Christians. Early Christians would be murdered, and they would hang them and kill them and stone them to death and shit. And they weren't afraid. They would go hide, and they'd go have church in a cave. And I had to hear these stories from church. And it's like now, well, you guys just got like a virus, and go wear some masks and go to church because you guys are still going to grocery store. I mean, and you're still going to whatever you got to go to, to go get your prescriptions. So why would you not just put mask and gloves on, go to church, go worship the Lord? Okay, but no, they're going to cancel church because the government told them to. So I try to tell them on that point, or any Christian at that point that goes to church regularly, they're like, oh, you're mocking the Lord. No, I'm not mocking the Lord. I'm trying to get you to understand that you just broke your own thing, and you need to start examining it, because I believe people of faith, that people who have faith in God like that, I believe that we need people to be this way. I think it's good for the country to have people who believe in God and church and faith and family and stuff. And I think that when they start voluntarily letting their shit go, then you got to think about how easy that they're manipulating people. These people believe in it. It'd be like if you had a bunch of gun owners and NRA people and people who love guns giving their guns up. Well, I think maybe I will give my guns up because I think this is a good reason to give my guns up. And that's the thing is, when you start seeing people give up on their shit, then you got to worry. And then today, another thing, talking about guns, I went to Academy and they're completely out of ammo. I mean, there's maybe 2 boxes or something. I noticed there's like 243, 270. So if you got 270, they got shit for 270s. And there's a bunch of mostly hunting shit left over. But it's all 20, like in the 22 caliber range of hunting cartridges. And I think there's some 7mm, but they basically had nothing, Academy had 200 round boxes of aluminum case 45 ACP. They did have that. If you guys, it's right on the end cap up here in Goulsville or Rivergate. If you want some 45 ACP aluminum case 45 with aluminum case ball rounds, there's 400 rounds right there around the shelf. But that said, the guns were almost completely gone. They had a couple of 1911s that were very expensive in the shelf, and they had 2 or 3 other guns. Couple of Sig Pros, Sig Pro handguns, which I've had a Sig Pro model. Actually, not a bad gun, but I sold mine. A couple of Sig Pros, a couple of 1911s. I didn't see much else, and they had, of course, some 20 gauges and 12 gauges and shit, like some hunting stuff, but there are no ARs anywhere. But there's a line, a big old line. Nobody has ammo. But it's a beautiful thing, the way they're wiping the guns out, because Oh, wow, you coughed, you got the virus. They're wiping out the guns because the more gun owners we have, the more people don't want them taken. And we have to educate them. Like I said, the more people who get to the range and they think, well, I've got this handgun, or I've got this gun that they shouldn't take, but I still don't like the AR-15s. And they go up there and they start shooting AR-15s and realize that they're not magical. That they don't. Let's say they buy like the little handgun or something. They're like, well, we need to educate them when they get interested in other guns, and we need to start getting them to understand politically why we think like we do. And I think if we get enough liberals that are people who aren't Republicans buying guns, I think you're going to see a demand for a change in the Democratic Party as well with gun control. I don't think a lot of people want gun control. I think they say, oh, most Americans are, that's a lot. They just keep saying this thing. Most Americans want reasonable restrictions. Well, whether you believe Trump should have got elected or not, I mean, there's a lot of people that voted for Trump, in the 60 million something range. And we didn't hear from any of them before, and we didn't hear anything about, them on the polls. So, yarn. But anyway, that said, just like when they tell you most Americans want this or this or this, they're not talking to most Americans. So when you see the amount of people buying guns, and they try to lie and say that it's people who are collectors, but that they've made up these stories past few years that most people who buy guns are the same few people, like a few gun nut kook motherfuckers that they buy all the guns, and it's only a few people buying them, and most people don't care about having a gun. Well, now they just had to admit that it's first time buyers because of the system. Now, wait a minute, we don't have gun laws. How do we know it's first time buyers? Oh, well, because they've never been running through the background check system that we have. They got the background check because we do run background checks, and they thought we didn't. We just don't run the type of background check they want, which puts the guns in a position to be confiscated. We do have a background check system, which has amazed a lot of liberals who had bought their first gun. We do have, they're like, wait a minute, we got this background check. So what is the background check system they're talking about? So that's the first point of education. We need to explain to them why their background check system that they are talking about is not what they think it is. Instead of they're comedians, they're simple, you just want a simple background check, just like your license or a car. They need to be educated. We need to teach them where they've been lied to now. Now is the time. And guess what? We got the facts on our side. So if they don't want to believe it, that's their problem. But we can sit there and tell them all day, hey, these are the facts right before your eyes about what the gun situation is. You got this gun. Now, how is a Democrat that just bought a gun going to tell you they didn't go through a background check when they just went to the store and went through a background check? This is, we need background checks. We just got one. You just got a background check. So did you just buy a gun? That's reasonable gun law? Was that reasonable? I mean, this is what we're going to have to start doing. I tell you, you're going to have to educate these people, and we're going to have to jump on it. And I hope prices don't go up too high because that's my hobby, But then we got these guns and ammo. It's going to God knows how long it's going to take to get them back on the shelves, So I bet High Point had a great month because they got the cheap $150 guns. People's inventory's gone. Gun stores' inventories are gone. They're got nothing in the place. You go in there, they're fucking gone. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, anyway, that's my thing for today. One more thing is because I almost forgot this. The one thing people keep saying today is we're literally out of respirators. That's the new thing too, is because somebody started where everybody's out of respirators thing, and that's like, but they always say their sisters, cousin, nephew, whatever works at the hospital and said they're out of respirators. And if you look at the hospital they're talking about, there haven't been enough cases there for them really, like if you look, like how many cases there's only been like 3 cases in the city. It's been 0 cases. How are they out of respirators? So like you always look at like everybody's got one. I had like all over my feed, I had the same watch the same person on everybody else's thing say the same exact story, but it was another person saying it, and it was another like a family member, a cousin, their wife's best friend, or whoever said that they were literally out of respirators. So that's today's story, and I'm telling you, it's neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Read some books on it. It's programming. Don't be programmed. Don't let your emotions destroy your ability to have logic, and don't confuse your emotional response with logic. It's my message for today. You guys have a great rest of the weekend.